I'm delighted to take part in this, but delight is the wrong word really, because I thought at this stage, 1 year after the election, that we would have decisions in relation to the most fundamental recommendation from the Mahon report, which was the right to work. Now, I can't imagine, Minister, what would stop any government from giving that right. And secondly, one of the recommendations was that after a period of time, I think it was 5 years, that nobody should be kept in there without having their status legalised. Now, they're very two basic requirements, and here we are a year later after a new election and new promises, and we're still talking about direct provision. And as of last July, 450 people, and it's difficult to get information, so if the figures have changed, correct me, but as of last July, 450 people had been resident in direct provision for more than 7 years. Now, has that figure gone up or gone down? I don't know, but it's certainly a shocking figure that we would keep people, mothers, children, in very confined conditions for more than 7 years and call ourselves a civilised society. We have international obligations. We're complying with those obligations in the most minimal possible by the provision of direct provision. And we've been doing that as a temporary measure now for 17 years. 2017 Alaskan Corla, and we started this direct provision in 2000 as a temporary measure. On top of that, I know from Galway and I know from other centres that people have got their status, but they cannot get out. They simply cannot get out. And I've asked many Dáil questions, as other TDs have done also, and we're going around in circles, pointing us to the Department of Social Protection to get their entitlements, which is not the issue. The issue is the Department of Social Protection won't talk to them if they don't have address. And the address is the hostel is not good enough for the Department of Social Protection. So they're stuck. Having got their status, Minister, they're actually stuck in direct provision where they shouldn't be. On top of that, there are 35 centres around the country. 35. 7 are state-owned, with 2 companies contracted to provide service, and there are 28. The other 28 are privately operated, making huge profits. Now, I don't think, and I'm again not criticising the providers, the government policy has allowed providers to come forward, but I don't think that our human rights obligations should be done in such a way that we're allowing companies and private operators to make a profit. That's not the way to comply with our legal obligations. We should have the whole thing streamlined, as you're trying to do with the new legislation. But in terms of the centres, it's appalling that a huge profit is being made while people cannot go out to work themselves, cannot cook their own food. And if we look at children and all of the discussion in this Dáil in relation to our obligations to children, surely we're not going to distinguish because of the colour of the skin or the colour of a country. And I know, Minister, that you're not that type of minister to do that. I know you're not. But at the same time, that's exactly what's happening on the ground with our policy. We are distinguishing. We are distinguishing because they're behind closed doors. And so it means we don't have to look at them. The amount of money that they're getting, and again there's a narrative that money is being thrown at these people. These people are people who have come to our country looking for refuge, exactly like Irish people have done in the past. And they're coming here and we're giving them €19.10 per week and €15.60 per child, and we're calling that humanity. On top of that, the amount of problems that we are creating, you know that, Minister. If we were to try living like that, what effect would it have on our physical health, on our mental health, not to mention the children? I know there's a pilot project. It was introduced in 2015 to allow certain residents to go to university. I'd like to know the result of that, how many have gone. The criteria are very restricted, and I understand you have to have at least 5 academic years. You have to have been in direct provision for 5 years and attended school for a minimum of 5 years. Now, that's very difficult, of course. So if you could tell me in the first instance how many people have qualified under that. And finally, Minister, just to finish because my time is up, I would appeal to you. You come across as a very, very concerned minister. in many of the discussions in the Dáil, how can you stand over direct provision that was introduced as a temporary measure in 2000? Why not set a date? I mean, it could be your legacy to stand up and do this. Thank you. Gur míle mágad the Lascan Corla.